you ever felt like God was laughing at you? I swear that's exactly what happened on March 2nd. I got up, did my workout, did my devotional. I was doing everything exactly like I thought I was supposed to. And then I got on my Colt at 8:30 in the morning. No big deal. I bent over and I tightened his cinch, and the latigo spooked him and he took off bucking. He's bucked before, and this time I got bucked off and ended up breaking my right wrist. For the third time. Luckily, it's healed now. I'm still not supposed to be lifting anything, but it put a big eye opener in my life. And I realized I need to set goals with God, not against His plan. And so I developed the 3x4 method because honestly, I just needed something besides SMART goals. So come along with me and I'll show you my new system and give you a peek into how I used to be doing things. So here's a little tour of said planner. And I love the gal that makes this. But as you can see, I had my whole life planned out. Let's fast forward even to June 7th through the 13th. Going back into May. I had my workouts, the Bible readings, numbers, I'm not really sure what they represented, as well as what I thought I'd be posting on the internet that day. And needless to say, way back on March 2nd, I ended up breaking my wrist. And I spent the day in Pier. But luckily I got Red Rosa. And so I realized that this was not the way that God had intended for me to set my goals and my actions. So now I'm going to take you through what I'm doing instead these days. And so it's a simple chart. It might seem too simple to some, but I promise it'll make sense as we go through it. So I decided not to use a planner in that method anymore, and that's when I decided to start using this new system. And so this is for the next 3 months, where it's going to be May, June, and July goals. But right now I just want to show you what I normally do as far as my yearly overview. And I do this just to kind of like keep in check of everything that's been going on recently. So far, those are the months we've had. Nothing really exciting happened except for in March when I broke my wrist. Calving went really good, so I'm going to rate that in April. Back in January, Brinley loved her birthday party. We went to the pool and swimming. Or swimming in the pool and bowling. That's what I meant to say. I'm going to say 5 out of 5 for the plan. In February, not much happened. Nothing remarkable, really. I guess I went home once. I'll write that down. And for me, home is my parents' place in northeastern South Dakota. I live in central South Dakota. And so that's just kind of an overview of what the year looks like. As more things happen, I will finish filling in May, June, July, and August. Hopefully that includes going to pro rodeos. Or also jumping ahead, I know in November I have the BFA in Oklahoma, and it'll be a huge barrel race and Bo's first time competing. So I'll just fill in the rest now. That's why I like this, is you can put the months however you want, There's no set in stone way that you have to do this. But the BFA in Oklahoma is the only thing that I currently have scheduled with the horses. But in July, I have a big 80 days to Brave trip. Stay tuned for that in July. I'll be flying. So, looking forward to that trip. That's my reward for doing the 80 days to Brave. But now for the actual goal part. And so, looking at this blank canvas, you might be wondering what the heck is a 3x4 goals. So one of them is the fact that it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So 3x4. And so I also have it in there where it's 3 months with the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and God. So there's 2 of the 3s. And then I like the 3 steps and 3 separate goals. And so in this first blank, I write down kind of the equivalency of a SMART goal. But SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And so the time-bound part, I try to always keep it at 3 months because sometimes you can get really discouraged by not seeing progress within the first 30 days. And so this way, it really keeps it into relationship. So up here, my first main goal that I want to do is being specific. I want to lose 25 pounds in 3 months. So I think that's healthy. I hope. So have my little trusty calculator even here because I'm not sure what that puts me at. I stepped on the scale this morning. I weighed 218, which is crazy to me. I was over 230 after I had my girls, but I've yet to be able to get down into the 100s. And so I want to weigh under 'So specific, I know exactly what my goal weight is, and then it is by the end of July, because that gives me May, June, and July. It's measurable because you can step on a scale. So, and then is it attainable? I think it's healthy. Relevant. My why. For that me, that's what the relevancy means. And so my rationale is to be a better, more active mom and a more athletic barrel racer. And so that is my first goal that I have. And now underneath it, I write down 3 things that help me accomplish it. And so here I am going to move my body for a minimum of 40 minutes a day. And then I'm going to I think this is where most people make the mistake. They end up starting with a really good goal, but then they don't say how they're going to accomplish it. So it's one thing to have the outcome, but you also need to make sure you have the inputs down here. And you have to have more inputs than outputs usually in order to make a goal come true. And so this is what I wrote. Move my body for a minimum of 40 minutes a day using YouTube videos and increase running distance and time outside. And so for me, that's the first thing, is really focusing on movement. The other thing is track my food and water, as well as my mood. And weight. Oh, excuse me. Track my food, water, weight, and mood. Because one of the things about tracking is just the act of writing it down tends to influence what you do. If I'm writing down I ate a chocolate bar every single day, it's not going to take very long, and I'm going to quit doing that because I don't want to have to show anybody what I've been eating. It's one of those things where you just kind of are aware too, where you know it's not good for you intuitively, and so you stop doing it all the time. And the next thing is my mind. It's a little harder to track, but that is where I write my blessings. Priority, memory, and prayer every day. I am left-handed, so my handwriting's a little sloppy. But every day I like to do that. It sets your mind, your intention. And for me, it's really just a matter of prioritizing time with the Lord. Otherwise, I don't do it. But my non-negotiable is blessing, priority, and memory. There's so many different studies about the ability to have blessings, and just taking a minute of gratitude every morning to really make your day go way better. So take some time, look up the studies if you want. The other thing I have is a priority. So a lot of times your days go hectic, and that's where I like to make sure that I have just one priority so I feel accomplished at the end of the day. What was the number one thing that needed to get done? And then a memory. My memory is completely shot. I don't know why, if I've had too many concussions from getting bucked off horses. I genuinely don't know. But especially since I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, I like to make sure that I'm writing down memories. If they do anything cute or if they're saying something funny, I want to make sure I write it down so I can look back at it, because I know for a fact when I'm 80, I'm not going to remember anything from here in my late 20s. So that is an example of what I do for my goals. My next one is to sell 900 notebooks in 80 days. And yes, that puts me at the end of July. And so again, it's specific, it's a number, it's measurable, you can count it. Is it achievable? I hope so, because I put all of my summer savings. As a school teacher, you don't get paid in the summer. And so I spent all of my summer saved up money investing in these notebooks. So I'm really hoping that it's relevant, because I need to make my barn payment at the end of the summer. And so that is my why. So the 3 steps I have there is I am going to post a daily short video. And then weekly, I'm going to post a YouTube video. So if you're watching this, thank you. This is my first one. And then the third task I have is to reach out or set up booths at barrel races in order to hopefully accomplish this. And so originally it's just to reach out to people such as like Facebook friends. Hopefully I can find like a partner to go sit with them at their booth, and then I can just sell my notebooks there and maybe run the booth for them. So that's my third step that I'm going to check into as the summer goes on. Right now, still May, still teaching. So that's my goal at the end of that. So those are my 2 big goals that I can actually write down. My third one has still been kind of being processed in my head. So the verbiage might change a little bit, but it is to compete on steel is the end goal. So I don't have a number yet because it really depends on how he does based off of how he does during exhibitions. So I don't want to put a number and force him to do that, but I'm just going to say compete at a jackpot or a rodeo, depending on how he does. And exhibition bow. And Bo, the problem is I treat him like a kid's horse, and then every once in a while he catches me off guard and bucks me off like crazy. So I want to be more confident and actually exhibition him. And then again, this is by the end of July. I'll probably be coming up sooner than that because I hope to exhibition steal quite a bit before I compete. And so we will be exhibitioning, and I'm going to probably say at least 5 times. So my actions, though, is to haul at least 5 times. Prior to competing. Ride at least 5 times per week. I'm usually not someone that rides twice in a day, but I've decided that if it's rainy or looks like it's going to be rainy, and the fact that they're 4 and 5, Bo's 4, Steel's 5, I would be willing to ride them in the morning around, say, like 9 o'clock in the morning, and then ride them again in the afternoon around 3. Just because with my girls on the weekends, it's kind of harder for me to ride, but I want to make sure that each horse gets at least 5 rides on them each week, just so that way they don't ever sit and become too fresh. And if something is happening with them, I can kind of stay on top of it and be more aware of it before it becomes a problem. And so then lastly, I want to get back into massaging them. I'm going to say monthly. Just because they're still young, they get body sore, but I also don't want to overdo it. I also have a farrier that's amazing, and he comes out on a regular schedule, and so um, their farrier work is already a top priority. But this is how I set my goals. And then I do have a whole nother page. That's the other thing I love about this is there's no bleed through. But I do have 8, or however you want to think of this, 24 pages technically, or 24 boxes to really write down how things are going. But normally I just like to check in every other week. Again, once a week, you don't really see progress because it's too soon. But every other week, I'll write down how things are going. During the winter, if I don't have huge goals to check in on, I also like to just write down faith, what I'm reading in my devotional, that type of thing, where I'm at in the Bible, and then family, if the girls, again, I like to record anything that they're doing. And then finances, however we're sitting money-wise. Right now I'm kind of in a pinch. Just bought stalls. Also, just a lot goes on in the spring, so it tends to cost a lot. But then you roll into summer and that costs a lot, and then pretty soon it's Christmas time, and that doesn't have to cost a lot, but it's extra spending that you might not intend for. So that's why I like to also check in on family every other week. And then the other 3 categories is health. How are you doing physically, mentally? I kind of already talked about spiritually with the faith. But then lastly, it's goals. Any goals that you have, I like to make sure I'm documenting them. And so here we'll check in a couple weeks and see how the progress on my first 3 see how the progress on those goals are going. So each day, like I said, I write in these notebooks. And so I'm on page 47. But don't be afraid to start over. I started over on April 27th and again on May 6th. But this is how I write them. And so here, I literally tried day 1 of 80 Days Brave way back on April 9th. And it says, don't throw your sucker in the dirt. I don't know how many times we've been tempted to do that. So keep your head up, chase consistent progress, and this is really steps of what I want to accomplish every day. So give Jesus the reins.